What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience buying my first truck, what I learned as far as what to do, what not to do going forward. And I'm making this video because I got asked by a subscriber to do so, and I think it's a great topic. I think it's great for anybody aspiring to be an owner-operator or a fleet owner. I think my experience buying my first truck and my experiences up to this point buying multiple trucks will kind of help some people when it comes to how to go about getting their first truck if that's what they're trying to do. So if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you for being here. Like the video, sub to the channel. If you're not new, like the video, or if you're somebody that doesn't like me, that's fine, dislike it. Either way, it helps with the YouTube algorithm when you do that. And don't worry, I'm going to get right into the topic of the video. But like I said, I think it's a great topic. And I want to be clear though up front. You're going to get, if you're searching on YouTube for opinions about being an owner-op or growing a fleet or whatever, you're going to get various different opinions about everything. So what I'm going to do is, again, share my experience and what I will do going forward. And that's all I can do, but I do want to be clear. There's different ways to skin the cat in trucking. And I'll just give an example. One, some people say it's better to buy old trucks, buy trucks that have 800,000, 1 million miles on them, and put a new engine in it and build it up and make it road ready. Will that work? Can you be successful doing that? Yeah, if you have the money and especially if you are mechanically inclined and you can do some of that work yourself, I think that's a great way to do it. You could probably end up paying less money going that route than you would going the route I go. Then after that, I would say, then there's the people like me where I buy trucks between 350 and 450,000 miles. I buy trucks that I can get at least a 3-year warranty on. And, and then I do plan on potentially keeping some of the trucks if that truck is not having any major issues and it's still running well. I might keep some of those trucks past warranty, but if I am having a lot of issues with the truck, I will trade it in and just get a newer truck with the same situation, same 3-year warranty, whatever. It'll just kind of depend as each of those trucks get closer and closer to the warranty expiring. But anyway, that's what I do. And I'm going to get into all that at the end. But that's what I do. I buy newer used trucks. And then there's people who are like, look, I won't buy a truck with anything over 350,000 miles. So they'll buy trucks from 200 to 350,000 miles. And then there's people who will only buy trucks under 200,000, pretty much brand new, or they've only been driven for about a year or so, or a year and a half. So, there's going to be various different opinions on what to do, what not to do. And all of those ways, though, that being said, you can be successful doing it all of those ways. It's just a different strategy. And, it's a different strategy as far as financing, doing it that way. Each individual way, it's just different. It's a different strategy, and you got to figure out what works for you. So again, like I said, I'm going to talk about what I did, my experience buying my first truck, what I learned about as far as how to do things going forward. And at the end, though, I am going to talk about what I believe to be the best way to do it overall. No matter which route you decide to go. Like I just gave you examples of different things people debate on as far as the way to do it. But at the end, I'm going to talk about the way to be successful as an owner-op, no matter which route you decide to go. So anyway, my first truck I bought from Crete Carrier. I drove for them for about 2 years as a company driver. And I decided to buy one of their trucks that they were trading in. And Crete does do that. They do whenever they're getting ready to trade in one of their trucks for new trucks, they do offer those vehicles to their company drivers that want to be owner operators. So at the time, I was kind of ready to take that leap. And, I did learn a lot about how Crete runs their owner operator program before I decided to buy that truck. So once I learned about it all, I was like, okay, yeah, I think it'll work out. I think I can do really well especially if I do it the way I talk about it at the end. So I decided to buy that truck, and I did pay cash for the truck. I bought the truck from Crete. It was a Freightliner Cascadia with a DD15 engine. I bought that truck. It had about 450,000 miles on it, and did not have an APU. So, and that's a lesson I did learn. I'll get into that, but did not have an APU. Now Crete does have OptiIdle. So OptiIdle's a lot better than that truck just idling constantly, but it's still idling. And again, I'll get into that lesson learned later on. But I bought that truck. It had 450,000 miles on it. It had 50,000 miles left of factory warranty. And when you buy a truck from Crete, you can buy their extended warranty. And that extended warranty is goes up to 250,000 miles. And so, say you buy a truck from Crete, and it has 500,000 miles on it, and you got that 2-year warranty, it'll go up to 750,000 miles. That's the cutoff for their warranty. And it's a good warranty too. It does cover, all the major components on the engine and the after treatment system, and that's huge. It doesn't cover like other things, but it does cover those things, and that is huge. When you're buying a truck, I do believe, unless you have the money to rebuild a engine off the bat, and rebuild a transmission or put a new one box in that truck off the bat. Unless you have that kind of money, I would suggest buying a truck with at least a 2-year warranty. But that's just a side note. So anyway, that's the truck I bought. Had 450,000 miles. I got 50,000 miles out of it of factory warranty that was left with Crete on that truck. And then after that, once it hit 500,000, I got the extended warranty going. So it was kind of nice, really, to have 300,000 miles of warranty on that engine and on the after treatment system. That's huge. You have an engine go out, that's $40,000. You have a one box go out, that's $20,000 to $30,000. So that is nice that it came with that, and you were able to purchase that extended warranty. That is really, really nice that I was able to do that, 100%. And, was this truck good? It's a Freightliner. The truck got great fuel economy. The Freightliners are great. I love Detroit diesels. They get great fuel economy. They last a really long time if you service them properly. You can run a Detroit diesel up to 1.2 million miles before it needs a rebuild. Now that's not all of them, but in general, those engines last a long time. Like I said, they're fuel efficient. Parts are easily accessible for Detroit diesels. The parts are cheaper than a lot of other makes and models and different engines out there. I'm a big fan of Detroit diesel. I'm also a fan of Cummins. Those are the two engines I like, and that's just another side note. And I'll get into that later. But so that was my first truck, and I bought that truck last year. I drove it for a year, and I did not buy any other trucks. I drove that truck for a year. I did have to put a lot of money into making that truck really efficient. I put about 15,000 into it over the course of the first year that I drove it, and I still did very well. But the first 4 or 5 months I had that truck, man, I felt like I was in the shop every other week just getting things fixed on it. So I had to pretty much replace every suspension part on that truck. So all the shocks, the bushings, had to get in alignment. I had to do all of that. And so that was kind of costly. I did have to replace the front, the 2 steer tires. That's costly. I did have to fix some oil leaks along the way. Oil leaks. I did have to get a new radiator put in that truck. The water pump went out. Just various different things that added up. It added up to about $15,000. And I did actually have the one box go out in that truck about 4 months into driving it. Luckily, like I said, it's covered under warranty, but that still sucked. I had to spend about a week in a hotel room waiting for the one box to be replaced. But ever since then, I would say the first 4 months of me being an owner operator with that truck were really tough. They were. And I was contemplating, like, did I make the right decision? But after I, got through all the kinks and got through, fixing up the things that needed to be fixed, that truck is a fine-tuned machine now, and it is the most profitable truck that I have out of the 6 that I have running on the road right now. It is an absolute beast. It's a workhorse now, but it did take some money to get it going and get it running the way it is now. But that being said, look, I did learn though that one, I think a lot of the things that I had to fix, like oil leaks, and I had injectors go out on that truck a few times, and one of the times the injectors went bad, it actually caused the one box to fail because the injectors were over fueling, so it caused the one box to fail, and I had to replace all the injectors twice on that truck, and then one time again was with a one box. Fortunately, the injectors and all that were covered, but still, it felt like the first 4 or 5 months where, man, like, I can make really great money, but every other week I'm in the shop. Well, after about the first 4 or 5 months, it wasn't like that. The truck started to roll well, and I started doing very, very well as an owner operator. But I bought the truck in cash. I did have a $30,000 emergency fund for that truck. And then when I started driving, I did fund a maintenance account with Crete, and I put 15 cents per mile away right off the bat. And, so I was able to cash flow a lot of these expenses I'm talking about, but I used every penny of that 15 cents per mile that first 4 to 5 months, like I said. And, but what did I learn from that? What did I learn? Well, number one, when I bought my first truck, I had no real idea about mechanics. I had no real fundamental basic understanding as to what to look at when I buy a truck. Now I do, because I went through all of those repairs, repair after repair. Because I went through that, I learned what to look for. And it was a very expensive lesson, but I did learn it. And I now know how to inspect a truck and look for things that are wrong with it and or could go wrong with it. And by being able to identify those problems before they become major issues, that saves me a lot of money now. And it's also helped me when purchasing new trucks in the future going forward. And I'm going to get into all that at the end. But, like I said, going through all that, I had to learn through trial and error about what to look for when buying trucks in the future. So number one, like when I buy a truck now, what did I learn from that experience? I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know, anything really. I'm not mechanically inclined. I'm still not a mechanic, but I do, again, know a lot more. I have a fundamental basic understanding about how these trucks operate, how to service them properly, and again, things to look for. So, for example, I learned that, hey, when you're looking at a truck to buy, you need to open that hood, you need to check all the hoses, you need to check for any signs of oil leaks, you need to check the oil itself, you need to check all the filter, like the Davco filter, you need to check the radiator, you need to check everything under that hood thoroughly, because if you don't, you may end up buying a piece of equipment, for example, that 2 weeks later you've got a coolant leak out of one of the radiator hoses. because you didn't see that, hey man, that thing's cracked, that thing is getting getting old or whatever. Or you've got to replace the oil pan gasket and there was some seepage, but you didn't look under there, you didn't know to look for that. I had to replace the oil pan gasket on my first truck, and there was a little bit of seepage when I first bought it, and I should have, before I decided to pay for it, I should have had that thing replaced. And you can do that when you go to a dealership, or you can say, look, you need to repair that, you need to replace that before I buy the truck. I had to learn to be more thorough and more demanding, when it comes to buying trucks. 100%. Also, when you turn that engine on, how does it sound? Does it sound quiet? Does it sound good when it's idling? If it doesn't, it may need a valve adjustment, right? Those are things you got to look for. So those are just little things. And then when it comes to, the other things, like what about the brakes? Are the brake pads worn? If it has disc brakes, are those brakes going out? Are you going to need to replace all the brakes on that truck pretty soon? Does it have any wheel seal leaks? Does it have good tires? How are the steer tires? How are the drive tires? What about the bushings? The front bushing, the front axle bushings and the drive axle bushings. What about those? What about the shocks? Is there any shocks leaking? Are you going to need to replace any of the leaf springs? You just got to inspect everything thoroughly. And it's not to say that by doing that, you're not going to have any problems going forward. But if you do that before you buy the truck, then, and you tell that person who's selling you the truck about it, that, hey, I'm not buying this truck unless you fix that, then you're going to save yourself a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Things that I had to learn, I had to learn through trial and error, like I said. And again, that doesn't mean, like I said, that you're not going to deal with the issues that these trucks will have. You're going to have issues with trucks no matter what. I don't care if you go brand new. Brand new trucks have issues. But moral of the story is you want to limit the amount of money you have to put into that truck. If you're, now if you're buying a brand new truck, looking at all that stuff, I mean, it's brand new, so it's different. But I'm talking about what I did, and that's what I learned. In the range that I buy in, that's what I learned what to look for. Just basically, moral of the story, thoroughly inspect that vehicle before you put any money into it. Because if you don't, you're going to end up putting that money into it later. Lesson learned for me. Now, going forward, what do I not like about the Crete deal? It's a great deal. They sell you those trucks at wholesale price, not retail, so that is good. They give you a warranty. But there's things I don't like. Number one, Crete does not have APUs on their trucks. So that's the major thing. I did learn about how, that's another thing I learned. It's very important when you buy a truck, major thing, is look at the engine hours of that truck. And what does that mean? So let's say you have a truck with 400,000 miles on it. You're looking at that truck, but that truck has 15,000 engine hours. And then there's another truck that had an APU on it that has 10,000 engine hours. So Crete's truck, for example, they use opti-idle, which it's better than just idling, but it's still, they're still idling. Opti-idle's still idle. It just kind of regulates itself, but it's still, some idling, right? And for example, my truck had about that Crete truck had about 14,000 engine hours on it when I bought it, and compared to one of the other trucks I bought that had an APU on it with the same amount of miles, had 10,000 engine hours on it. So that's my biggest con with Crete, is that they don't have APUs on their trucks throughout the lifetime of that vehicle. And what do I like about trucks that have had APUs on them? Moral of the story, less engine hours, meaning less wear and tear on that engine. Even though it has the same amount of miles, that engine is still fresher and younger than the one that didn't have the APU. So I don't like that. No APU on the Crete trucks. Number two, I can't get a 3-year warranty. And every truck I buy now, going forward, I buy a 3-year extended warranty with up to 400,000 miles. So I like that because it gives me an extra year to make my money back and prepare for a potential rebuild or new one box or transmission. It just gives me a longer time to keep the truck and make the money back and profit and, prepare for those things after warranty. So one, I don't go the Crete route, no APU. Two, the warranty. And the warranty does not cover the transmission. The warranties I get now cover the transmission. That is a downside to Crete's warranty. It does not cover that, and transmissions can be a lot of money to replace that. So, going forward, I won't buy a truck from them just because of that. And I'm willing to pay a little more money to a dealership for a warranty that has an extra year and covers the transmission than not have that. And I'm willing to pay a little more for the truck, being that it already has an APU on it and it's had an APU on it throughout its lifetime. It's just, those are things that I like, because a lot of the issues I had with the first truck, I do believe was because it idled a lot more than the ones that I own now that have APUs on them. So those are a few of the things, man. It's a lot, but those are a lot of things I learned. With every truck I own now, and I've owned, and I did the same thing with the Crete truck. Like I said, I paid cash. I had a $30,000 emergency fund for the first truck. And I do that for all my trucks. And every truck has a maintenance account. I put 15 cents a mile away into the maintenance accounts to cover repairs and everything. That's what I do. And, but going forward, like I said, I don't buy any more trucks from Crete. And, I do buy them from a dealership. And those are the things that I look for, like I said. So now I wanted to end with this though. If you're looking at becoming an owner-op, these are some things you need to know, especially if you're going the used truck route. If you're buying a brand new truck, the same rules will apply for my advice actually. And, and what is that? For everybody, as far as the type of truck, the type of engine to buy, all of that stuff, that's going to depend on how you want to go about doing that. Old, new or used, new, whatever. You can be successful doing it in various different ways, okay? If you're going to go with a truck, though, that does not have warranty on it, you better have enough money to cover a rebuild on the engine. If you don't have that starting out, I wouldn't buy a truck that doesn't have at least a 2-year warranty, 100%. I wouldn't do that. So I'm going to go through everything though, as far as what to do to be successful as an owner-operator, no matter what, no matter which route you decide to go. Like I always say, do it debt-free, number one. Number two, get a truck with a warranty on it, at least 2 years. Okay, if you're getting a new truck, you get a warranty for even longer, but pay cash for the truck itself. Have at least a $20,000 emergency fund. Have a warranty for at least 2 to 3 years. I would recommend buying a truck with an APU, 100%. If it's brand new, go get an APU installed, but I would 100% do that. And then that warranty needs to cover transmission, after treatment system, and engine, all of that. And then you need to fund a maintenance account, and you need to have a regular service interval. So how often do you get your B services, your oil changes? Do you do it every 30,000 miles, 40,000, 50,000? You need to set that in stone and be consistent with that. But I would suggest at least 10 cents a mile going into a maintenance account to cover those services and cover other things that are going to come up. But that's the best way to do it, man. As far as in my opinion, buying a truck, things to look for, things to do, things not to do. That's what I've learned. That's been my experience. If you're an owner-op and you want to leave your opinions down in the comments section below, that'd be great. But that's really all I can think of. that's what my experience was. I still love that truck, by the way. My first truck, I absolutely still love it, and it's a great truck now. But I did learn a lot of tough lessons with that truck, and yeah, so that's my video for today. God bless. I hope everybody's having a great day, great Labor Day. If you're watching it long past Labor Day, I appreciate you for watching the video. Either way, subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Stay tuned for more videos like this in the future, and peace out.